everyone. Welcome back to Beyond Broke and Hungry. This week we have actually a good friend of mine, Kyra, who is an actress, and she has been on the directing side, really in the film industry, and everything from improv to comedy. Kyra, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I love the name of your podcast.
Thanks. What's the weirdest thing that happened to you this week?
Oh gosh, the weirdest thing that happened to me. Well, the clock in my house, the second hand ticks, and it stopped ticking about 5 days ago. Both my roommates went out of town. Last night I got home from work at midnight and it was ticking.
So the world is ending.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or your house is possessed by demons.
We've decided it's possessed, so now I'm there by myself while it's possessed.
Lovely. That sounds alarming. Don't worry, Kyra, we'll come over and protect you from the creepy clock.
Speak for yourself, Ellen.
And Dara's like, get me out of here.
I'll just go back to Florida where my apartment is not possessed. I'm good with it.
All right, so why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got into film?
Okay. I was a theater major in college, and I quit college twice before I decided to become a theater major, I think. So many times I quit, I can't remember now. I just didn't really enjoy college in the sense that I loved studying and I loved in-class discussions, but I hated not knowing what I was working towards. And then I directed Peter Pan and Wendy at my old high school one year when I had quit. I think it was after my freshman year. This is already after I took a gap year and went to Germany. Like, I've had so many gap years, but I loved directing Peter Pan and Wendy. So I was working with 9th through 12th graders, and it wasn't a musical, thank goodness. I love musicals, but despite my many years of voice lessons, I am like tone deaf when it comes to my own voice. But I loved working with them. It was so much fun. It was so nice for the drama teacher to put her faith in me. And my mom did costumes, and it was so much fun, and I loved it. It was awesome. And I just realized, oh my gosh, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And so I went back to school, and I felt a lot better because I had my major, but I knew, okay, this is what I want to do. This is awesome. And even though I've always loved theater, now it was with more intention. So I liked it a lot better. My school was really small, so I didn't have a film program.
We met in college, actually.
We did. Our school was very tiny.
Trey tiny.
Did not have a film program. So when I graduated, we lived close to Chicago, but I didn't want to go there because I was so sick of Michigan winters. And I didn't want to go to LA because I didn't know anyone. And my parents retired near Nashville, and I thought, okay, let's go to Nashville and look at the entertainment industry and see what it's like. And I'd rather be there and realize I hate the real life professional industry and have family nearby than be out in LA all by myself and realize I hate it.
Right. Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
So I just got in it by honestly taking an acting class and then doing crew jobs because I wasn't getting any acting jobs right off the bat. So I did PA work, production assistant, and just got to learn a lot by being on different sets. So that taught me a lot of the film industry that I never had the education about.
Cool. So how long have you been in Nashville?
Let's see. I've been in Nashville since 2015. So coming up on 5 years.
What?
Crazy.
That is crazy. It's crazy that I've been here coming up on 4. That feels absolutely insane to me, but
I can't believe it's 2020.
I know.
Is the thing. I'm I was journaling the other day and I remembered, wow, I remember the 2000 Millennium Celebration. And I was in high school, and now it's 2020.
You old lady, you.
I know.
So actually, that is a great segue into our next question.
Great.
So what are your biggest goals and resolutions for 2020?
Ooh, okay. So every full moon, I do full moon manifestations. So I write down my manifestations and then I burn them in one of my candles, under the full moon moonlight. And
what if it's cloudy?
I'm still out there. I'm in my backyard. I might not be able to see it, which is depressing, but I'm still out there because I know it's a full moon.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
But for December, it was the last full moon of the year. So I did my manifestations for 2020 versus just like a single month. And I took a picture because I wanted to be able to look back at the end of 2020 and say, cool, I did this or I did that. So I won't remember everything, but some things I wrote down definitely involving my career were to finish writing a feature film, which just means like full-length film. It's easy for me to write once I get started. It's hard for me to come up with an idea. Usually it has to be like happen to me in real life, or someone tells me a true story and I say, hey, can I manipulate that and write about it? I have to be very, very inspired by it. I'm not necessarily great at coming up with a random idea.
Pulling something out of the air.
Yes, yeah. So I like writing once I get started, but it's hard for me to finish a lot of things. So I'm gonna finish a feature this year.
Yeah, you are.
And I would just love to be acting more, which also means writing more, because you can put yourself in your own work
There you go.
easier than any agent will cast you. And then I made some health goals. I just made goals about continuing just working on my health, like regarding keep your appointments, like make sure you're taking care of yourself, do whatever you need to do. Being an adult, not fun.
Have I done that? No. Should I do that?
Yes. And then, of course, everyone's New Year's resolution, go to the gym. I love going to the Y. I just got sick and haven't been in a long time, so I just need to build my energy back up to go. And then one of my other goals was to really work on my family relationships. I was not the greatest probably family member as of late, just because I was depressed, and I just it would come out with my family because I subconsciously probably knew, oh, they're gonna love me regardless. I'm not gonna lash out at people I meet in the supermarket or at my friends. Like, that's inappropriate. Not that it's appropriate for me to do it at home with my family when I visit, but I would get so angry. And Dara, like how you were talking about, I don't want someone to ask me, how was your day? I'll see you in 3 days. I'll tell you how my day was,
Yes.
you know?
Exactly.
My parents are just trying to be human beings and asking, how was your day? And my response was, it was fine, like any other normal day. Jeez, leave me alone. I'm going to my room, you know? And it wasn't that bad.
Age 15. All the angst.
Teenage angst coming through in Kyra's late 20s.
I hate my life.
Leave me alone.
So I'm trying to be a better daughter and sister. And it's honestly, I went on antidepressants and I did some therapy, and I feel so much better. Like, I'm way less to anger, which has been recognizable, which I've noticed, which I think is nice, because so often you work on any problem, whatever it is, and if you don't see results, you just get tired and exhausted or decide to quit. So it is nice when you see some results, and that makes you want to keep doing it.
Yeah. I do have a question about like antidepressants and anxiety
Yes.
meds from your perspective.
Yeah.
So I, as you know, am medicated for anxiety. But a lot of people like are really hesitant to go into it. What was the trigger for you to be like, you know what? Okay, it's okay to be medicated for this.
You know, I did it in college once, and I think it was, I can't really remember. I know it was when I was in school, because I was seeing the school counselor, so it wasn't after I quit college, obviously, but maybe it was when I came back. I was just still dealing with some things. And my counselor, he just explained it so beautifully. You know, he did like the visual aids where he like held up one hand and he was like, here, this is your brain and these are your receptors. And he held up his other hand and moved them together, and like the fingertips didn't meet. He was like, your brain is not receiving what it needs to receive. It's there, but it's not going where it needs to go. Like, you need that serotonin and whatever else that I wasn't getting. And he's like, he said, I remember he said, if your body is ill, you go to the doctor to fix it. If your brain is ill, you need to do the exact same thing. And he just explained it so well, and I thought, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, Brock Lutz was the best. Man, I really, really appreciate that. And ever since then, I've been such an advocate, because I know people shy away from it, or like, no, I can do it by myself. And I think, well, how long can you do it by yourself, and what's wrong with getting help? And I think in American culture, it's grown so much, even since we graduated, because now they have like a mental health club at college. I think it's grown a lot, just awareness of it and the acceptance of seeking help, because previously it's been behind closed doors. You can do that, which I think is one nice thing that something like Instagram has brought around, is like body positivity, mental health, and I think that's been really nice. So for me, I think it was, I tell you what though, this time around it took me a long time to do medication. And I had a friend that would see me every week for a meeting, and I would talk to him about it, and he finally just texted me every single day until I called to make the appointment. And I told him, I was like, why was it so hard for me to do that? And he said, because you're depressed. He's like, that's it. You just need encouragement to call somebody and have them talk to you. And I hate that I waited so long, because I can tell such a difference in my pleasantries. So I wish I had gone earlier, but it's such a simple but honest response of, oh, you were depressed and you didn't want to.
You didn't have the energy.
Yep.
Yeah. An interesting thing, like in my case, Kyra and I used to live together a couple years ago, and I got on anxiety meds as we were living together. And I just remember talking to her about it constantly and being like, I'm trying everything. I'm doing yoga, I'm meditating, I'm praying, I am on a really, I'm trying having really good routine, a really regular sleep schedule. To be fair, I was a touring musician at the time, so it wasn't as stable and regular as I would have liked. But all after doing every natural thing that I could find on Google and essential oils and all this, that, and the other thing, it was like, you know what? It's okay. I can go on meds if that's what my body needs. But I think it's also good to try all those other methods first.
Yes,
because you can. It's hard to get off of medication once you're on it.
No, and I will testify to that. You're very good at routine, and you're very good at doing the things that you put your mind to. You're good at saying, I'm going to do this, and you do it. And I was there. I saw you eat healthy. I saw you wear workout clothes every day and go to the gym. Yeah. And it doesn't mean it wasn't helping in some ways. It could have been way worse without those things. Right. But sometimes you just need a little extra kick. And I will say, I think that if you're on some type of medication, it's best to coincide that with a type of therapy, because it can help the medicine work better versus just taking it on your own and thinking, okay, this is the only thing I have to do.
Yeah, exactly. How do you keep your schedule organized and prioritize these different projects that you've got going on?
I honestly just put everything in my calendar, and I joke.
Calendars.
Oh man, when I joke about it, because a lot of people ask me that question, you do so many different things, how do you show up on time, or how do you know what to do? And I put it all in my calendar. When my alarm goes off, I go wherever the directions tell me to go. And I show up, and sometimes I'll show up to work at Vanderbilt, which is an as needed job, and people will ask me, oh, what simulation are you doing today, or what case are you doing today? And I'll say, I don't know. I know I'm supposed to be here from 7:30 to 3, so whatever's happening between that time, that's what I'm here for. I don't know half the time what I'm walking into, but that's actually been a big, not the organization aspect of it, but the fact that there are so many things to go to. My mom has mentioned it to me so many times, isn't it hard for you to go from here to there and then back and then have 2 hours of downtime, but then have to be at work at 5, and it is. I wish I had the energy because the past year it's wearing me down. I like the freelance industry in the sense of, I love at a whim being able to say, sure, I'll come to set tomorrow because you need me, versus if I had a full-time job, I wouldn't be able to do that. But and I don't want to say I'm giving up on the dream and I'm getting a full-time job, but I definitely in the past week have decided to look for full-time jobs just because of my health. Like, it's so hard. I mean, you probably know from having a late night radio show, and then you know from touring, it's so hard going to bed at 10:30, 12, 1 a.m., 11, 2 a.m. You know, it's exhausting.
2 p.m.
Yeah.
It's not
So
good
just
for your
sleep in
body.
your car for 30 minutes because you got to a thing early and you're like, oh, maybe just close my eyes for 20 minutes and I'll have enough energy to do this.
And the fact that you can get so excited by a nap, I think, wow, maybe I should change my lifestyle.
Yeah. No, I did the freelance thing for like, or, you know, entrepreneur is like the big buzzword nowadays, but like I did that for a couple years and it was exhausting. Yes, the time freedom, awesome. Being able to go and do whatever I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it, great. But if I wasn't working, I wasn't making money.
Right.
And when I wasn't working, I was spending my money. So it was just like, you know, just so stressful to kind of try to balance it all. But I mean, at the same time, like if that's what you want to like chase, like it could turn, it's one of those things that freelancing can turn into full time, you know, if you're pursuing it actively and correctly.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I mean, I met Dara when she was in that phase of kind of killing herself and drilling herself into the ground. And I just remember we had an interview on the radio station with Dara. I actually met her, as I'm sure everybody all of our listeners have probably heard this by now, but we met when I was on the road with my band and she dropped a business card in the tip bucket. When I like first met her in person, she looked so tired. And then we hung out like 3 different times that day and she was so tired.
My spirit was high. My spirit was so high.
She was so excited to be there, but she was like killing herself and burning the candle at both ends, which you can only do for so long.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's so hard because we all grow up hearing, oh, you're going to be a starving artist. Or like we joked, thankfully my parents never said it this way, but we joked a lot as a theater major group thinking, oh, you're like joking about your parents finding out, oh, you're majoring in theater? Great. So we'll be supporting you for the rest of your life?
Got it.
Lovely.
Yeah.
But you hear the, oh, you're going to grow up as a starving artist thing. And I think you just have to rethink that. Like, I don't think you have to be a starving artist. You can be an artist and have a job. You can be an artist and have a full-time job that I don't want anyone to ever hate their job. Right. But if you have a job that you don't have to take home with you at the end of the day, it can just be a job. As long as it gives you some sort of fulfillment or you feel like you're helping or contributing in some way, then you can be doing what you want to do that brings you like that joy and passion, because for a while it might take you time to make that money doing it. And I hate the living paycheck to paycheck thing. It's because it's true. When you're not working, you're not making money. And then when you aren't, you're spending it. And then when you come back from like your 3-day vacation that you finally saved up to take, you feel overwhelmed because you have to make up those 3 days. Right. And that's rough. That's that's mentally exhausting.
Right. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about all the projects that you're working on right now? And like, what are you up to?
What am I doing? I'm on an improv team called Atticus Attacks, named after a cat that visited us on our first day of improv rehearsal. And I have a sketch team called Not a Cult. On April Fool's Day, I have a show at Zany's Comedy Club for a sketch show.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. So we've just been writing and just trying to dedicate. We always say, like, if you want to do this, you have to make it a priority. And that's hard for some people because they have that full-time job. Like, one girl on my team is a lawyer, and she can't help it that sometimes she has to work until 7 p.m. and then she has to go home and get food and go to bed. You know, she can't always come to meetings. And there are other people who freelance, and there are other people who have like 2 part-time jobs. It's just everyone's schedule is different, and you just have to somehow make it work if it's what you want. So I'm doing a lot of comedy, I guess, right now, and a lot of writing. And then I'm producing a short film about, you guys might appreciate this, a short film about women using movement and dance as therapy.
Cool.
So I'm excited for that. And just finished doing a horror movie that I produced for a little bit, and they shot that all here in Nashville. And I'm not really looking right now for behind the scenes work. I was doing a lot of that previously. Like I did Property Brothers, and just a lot of random stuff like that. And I enjoyed it and loved it and all those connections and those people. But working behind the scenes isn't where I get my creativity passion fulfilled. So while I learned a lot, I wasn't fulfilled. And after I learned what I needed to learn and got my good experiences, I said, okay, you're going to start saying no now, because you don't want to be a PA. You don't want to be an AD. Like, it's not going to serve you anymore.
Yeah, I think saying no is a huge thing for anybody that's an entrepreneur or a freelancer, because I had to learn that when I was doing that. Like, I literally, just like Ellen said, like, so tired. I would look at myself in the mirror sometimes and just be like, who is that? Who is this person? Like, my eyes had the deepest, darkest pits of like underneath them, and like I was like wearing makeup all the time to like make sure that like no one could see that, and I, you know, my sleep schedule was just crazy. But once I decided like I can say no, like it's not a matter of like I can't afford to say no, like I can't afford to not say no, because if I push myself too hard, I won't be able to do anything. So I, you know, that's definitely like a big word that had to be practiced and implemented heavily.
I think that's such a good lesson for everyone to learn, like whatever industry you're in, but especially for the entertainment industry, just because usually they are the ones with crazy schedules. And I remember posting on Facebook, which I rarely use, but I did it because I knew a lot of people would see it, and I hoped that they would be like, wow, I need to learn that lesson too, because so often we feel like we can't say no, or we shouldn't say no, or we're afraid that we'll miss out on something if we do say no. But I was working at a steakhouse as a vegetarian. I don't know what I was thinking. No.
That was hilarious. She was teaching me about like what it means to like sous vide cook beef, and I was like, Kyra, you don't even eat beef. And she was like, I know.
It was a job.
It's a job.
But I was working at a steakhouse, and I just remember thinking, this is not what I signed up for. Like, I felt like the interview was misleading. I thought I was going to be doing more event planning, and I was not. And after a while, I just thought, you know what? This is not worth my time. I am a college-educated, hard-working human being.
Independent
woman. I was like, I can be put to work in ways that will use my talents better and help people better than whatever I was doing there. And I literally quit my job, and I still had, you know, my 2 weeks. And some woman called me out of the blue, and she was like, hey, I'm from LA. We're coming to Nashville to shoot this show. I got your name from so-and-so. And I felt so awful because I didn't even remember who that so-and-so was. Like, I looked through all my emails, and I was like, I want to thank this person for recommending me, because in our industry, it's such a thing of networking. Sure. And they're like, oh, hey, I can't do it, but here's someone I recommend. And then I was on like a TV set. I quit my job even earlier because I was like, hey, I'm not going to be here because I'm working on a TV show now. So
sorry, I'm going to be famous. Like,
sorry, I'm not sorry. Yeah. But that was the quote of, you can't receive any gifts if your hands are full. And I felt like my hands were full, and I just couldn't do it. And then once I let something go, I was like, wow, this is something I want to say yes to, and now I have an open hand.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. What have you learned from doing improv?
Gosh.
Sips wine.
I know. I love improv. I've learned a lot. I think a lot of people who start out doing improv, I think a lot of people don't even know what the word improv means. And someone was joking around with me the other day in a little accent, and she was just going off and being this weird character. And I said, Marilyn, you're doing improv right now. You told me you never did it. And she said, that's improv? I was like, you didn't plan anything. You just started going off into this weird accent, playing this old lady character. You're doing improv right now, and you're amazing, and you should do it more. And she was so excited. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been doing improv with my sister my whole life. I was like, that's make-believe. You've been doing it forever. We all have.
Play pretend. Yes.
Yes, play pretend, make-believe. Let's play house. Like, my brother and I used to play dog. I don't know why. We never had a dog.
Maybe that's why.
Probably, but my mom remembers it. She's like, I remember you and your brother playing dog. One of you would be a dog and the other would be the owner. I'm like, I guess we had fun if we did it that often.
Oh my gosh.
But I love using my imagination, and I think that's why I wouldn't say I have the Peter Pan syndrome like a lot of boys here in Nashville, but
True.
But I love Peter Pan is my favorite book, my favorite play, my favorite movie, everything. Yeah, just my favorite story. Thank you. My favorite story. I love it. And I love all the different interpretations of it, but overall I just love the idea of not wanting to grow up, not out of fear, but just out of, this is fun. Why would I want to be stuck paying bills and finding which car payment is right for me, you know?
Yeah.
And improv, you just get to do whatever you want to do. That's kind of what drew me to acting was, I want to go to med school. I want to go to law school. There's so many things I want to do. Kyra, you can't do them all. You have to pick one. Or at least a couple, but right, go to law school and med school. Don't become a vet. Just do two. But improv is so much fun. You get to play pretend all the time, and it's not about, oh no, I have to be funny. It's just yes, and your partner. Like, they say something, you believe in it, and you go with it, and your story will come. Listening is so important, and not just with your ears, but with your eyes. Like on stage, you want to, even if you're talking, you want to notice what your partner is doing, because they're miming everything. So they could be miming washing their hands, but if you didn't notice and you think you're on a roller coaster, you know what I mean? Like, you have to pay attention and say, oh, okay, they're washing their hands, we're probably in the bathroom or the kitchen. What can I do in that new environment? And just listening to someone without talking over them. And I think listening is just it's such an easy thing to do, and yet you do have to put effort into doing it. Sure. But once you do it, communication is so much easier.
Right on. I've actually been like on this kick. I think I'm pretty funny.
She does think she's really funny.
Okay, let me rephrase. I know I'm really funny.
I've only known you for like an hour, but I agree. I think you're really funny.
Thank you, Ellen.
Don't make her head any bigger.
I know, it is pretty huge. No, but I've kind of been like, I did. There's in Jacksonville, there's a pretty decent comedy scene for the most part. There's a lot of like open stand-up nights, and I've witnessed a few of them, and I actually got up on stage once, and like I write jokes in my notebook, and like some of them like it's like an idea, and I want to be able to form it into something, and like I was a thespian in high school and middle school and stuff, so I really love the idea of like playing a different character, like play pretend and like not being myself. But I'm like a songwriter, so like I can write a song about how I feel, but like for somebody who is wanting to dabble in that, like whether it's improv or getting up and doing stand-up, which I guess could kind of go hand in hand, what advice would you have for them?
Well, just what you're doing. Like, hey, I went up there. Good for you. That's one step that most people aren't gonna do. Last night I worked at Zany's last night at the comedy club, and we had all local comics, and they do this event maybe like once a month, and it's just local comics, and they all get, I don't know, like 8 minutes maybe on stage, and it's so cute when friends come and support them and family comes and support them, because they can be any age as long as they submitted it, and as long as the person in charge of that show thinks, I think this person would be good for this show. Mm-hmm. But there was a 20-year-old, and you could tell he was so nervous. His parents were in my section, and they were so proud, and they were laughing so hard, and I told them afterwards, I was like, it was so funny seeing you guys laughing and supporting. But do it. My acting coach always says, good for you for being here, because you're taking a step that most people dream of but are too scared to do, or think they can't do it, or for whatever reason don't do it. I just say do it. So many people are incredibly hilarious, and you just have to learn how to put that into if you want to do stand-up, you just have to learn how to, you know, exaggerate that a little bit to where you have a little set. And I think it's really interesting that you said you like being different characters, because there aren't that many comedians that will be different characters. So many of them are themselves, and there's like, we love that. That's why we watch them, that's why we tune in. But it's also really entertaining to see someone be this character that you know they aren't. So you it's kind of like you're less offended because you know, oh, they're playing a weird character that believes in this.
Right.
They're not really. That's how a lot of people feel with sketch comedy. We write something and they think, is this too offensive? And I say, depending on what it is. Like, we wrote something about kids being turned into donuts, which we're gonna do. I know it's like, it sounds so weird, but people say, oh no, is that too offensive? And I say no, because first of all, that's literally impossible. So you're not, who are you offending?
Right.
No one. Let's do it.
The donut clan.
Right.
Gonna
We're gonna do it. The orphanages, the Dunkin' Donuts, like, no, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I think it is really hard right now in the time that we're in, just because of the combination of Me Too movement, like the women movement, just so many things.
Everybody's offended by
they are. They're
everything.
afraid. Oh no, if I say this, am I going to be called out? And it's hard for me to say what you should be called out in comedy, because you're trying to be funny and you have to over exaggerate for that, especially if you're doing stand up basing it on your real life.
Right.
So just the advice I'd have is, like, do it for your friends, send it to your aunt in an email, like, just get feedback, you know, and then just do it. I think you do have to really look into what audience you have, just because sometimes in certain cities it can be cliquey based on where you go, in the sense of, like, if you're only performing for other stand-ups who are waiting to get up on stage, they might not even be paying attention because they're trying to memorize their lines.
Sure.
So just, like, find your right audience and find a good community that's going to support and encourage, because once you have that, you have people that are going to help you.
All right. So moving to how have you have had all of these different projects and all of these different jobs that you have done so that you can pay your bills and, you know, really pursue your dream. So with that comes a lot of budgeting. So how do you budget, and what kind of tips do you have for that? Today we were talking about clipping coupons.
Yes, we were. Ellen and I used to clip coupons. I actually started clipping it probably because of you, because you were so diligent.
Welcome.
Yeah, about clipping coupons.
We were saying earlier, the day my Kroger coupons come in the mail is like the best day of the month.
Yes. I got 20 cents off per gallon at my Kroger the other day for my gas. Yeah.
Which is awesome. And then I think about it and I'm like, oh no, that means I spent so much money on groceries.
But we need groceries. We do. Right. Gosh, what tips do I have about budgeting? I'm really good with my money. I wouldn't say I have to sit down and budget in a detailed way. I'm just good about not spending it because I don't have a lot of it. So, like, when I go out at night around Nashville with my friends, I'm not going to buy a $14 cocktail. Like, are you out of your mind? I don't have that money.
Do you know how many McDoubles I could get for that money?
Oh, gosh. No, Ellen, let's talk about health after this. Gosh. But I can go out and dance like a crazy person, and people think, oh my gosh, Kyra is wasted, and my friends say, actually, she's sober, that's just how she dances.
Actually, she's just weird, and that's why we love her.
Yeah, like, I love dancing and I love going out, but I would rather, I think a lot of it is mental for me. I think, okay, Kyra, do you want to go to Europe this year? Or, okay, Kyra, do you want to visit your friend in San Antonio? Or, hey, you've been wanting to go to Iceland forever. Would you rather go out every weekend and buy drinks? Or would you rather save up and hopefully go to Iceland someday? So I think it's just a lot of prioritizing. And I mean, it really gets me when people, I guess it's common sense or how I was raised. Like, my dad was in the military. He had the USAA bank and he got me an account when I was little, and I used to get like a weekly or a monthly like newsletter for kids, so they made it fun to learn about it. And I had 3 little jars, and it was spending, savings, and college. So I would put my allowance or like whatever I'd earned from babysitting or yard work, I don't know, in those little jars, and every once in a while like the college and the savings would go off to the bank and I'd get to keep my spending money.
That is the cutest thing I've ever heard.
It was great. It really taught me,
picturing the like jars being all colorful and like
yeah,
like knowing Kyra, they probably had like cheetah print, like pink and green cheetah print or something.
Oh my gosh, not that bad. No.
But
They
still,
were
it's
glass
so
with
cute.
cork tops.
Oh, very classic.
And they had little paintings on them.
Let me just put into perspective for you, all those who are listening. Right now, Kyra is wearing a fluffy green, like emerald green, like trench coat, fur coat type jacket, and then like white snakeskin, like high boots, like wedges. I mean, she looks great. No, great, and cat earrings. That tops it off. Like
Yeah.
honestly, the cat earrings. No, looks great. But just want to give a little perspective.
There used to be cats and cheetah print everywhere in our house.
Oh my
Everywhere.
gosh. Weird photos of old timey women that Ellen made me move from our hallway because she was scared. I have a very unique style. Let me say that is where I spend my money. But people touch this coat and they're like, "Oh my gosh, how much did this cost you?" And I say, "Got it at Steinmart after Christmas, so it was on sale, and I had a coupon, and I got it for $34.95." I'm like, I don't feel bad about that purchase. But yeah, I think
Killing it.
budgeting for me is so much mental. Like when I hear people say, "Oh man, I can't afford to do this," and they have like 3 Starbucks cups in their car, I'm like, didn't you just spend $7 on a latte? Like
3 times.
oh gosh, yeah, like just stop doing that for a month, and then you could do something else. So thankfully, I think it's been fairly easy for me to mentally decide, oh, I'd rather do this than that, so I'm not going to spend my money, and then just shopping around and making sure you're getting good prices on things that you do need.
Yeah. So we're gonna go into our kind of wrap up questions. So first off, what does self-care mean to you?
Self-care has been such an interesting term that I didn't really hear about, I feel like, until the last, I don't know, maybe 3 years. I have this to-do list, and it's organized by day of the week, so it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it just has a lot of lines for you, so it's cool because you can see like your whole week. And I put down, like, starting this week, I was like, pamper your feet, use your face roller that you bought, like what's the point of it sitting in your drawer, actually use it. So once I write things down, it's easier for me to do them because I feel so good when I cross them off. But I think self-care for me, one thing I've been really happy with is like a nice skincare regime. Like I always ask my dermatologist, what do I need to do to prevent aging, and just trying to be proactive and smart. And she said, honestly, for your age, like just wear sunscreen. You already use a moisturizer, you're doing great, wear your sunscreen. And this year I started like a toner and a serum and like a night cream and an eye cream, and I freaking love it. Like I feel so good.
I love doing my skincare routine. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, I really like it. I think also a point of self-care for me, like mental health wise, is time alone. Like I'm like my mom, I really enjoy my time alone. And sometimes I feel guilty, but I have to say no when people say, oh, do you want to come out, or do you want to come meet me, or do you want to do this? And I say, honestly, I've been working every day or every night this week. I just want one day at home where I can like cook what I want to cook, watch a movie, like do my taxes, whatever. Like just, I don't want to do
you really
them.
do your taxes?
I do, but
Only one life.
because I don't want to be stressed about it come April. But I think self-care for me just involves like, hey, take time for yourself, do your journaling, or don't, just lay on the couch for a day. Who cares what you do as long as it's healthy in some way for you, whether that's like resting your mind or resting your body.
What do you nerd out about in your free time?
Well, I love movies. I nerd out over the Oscar nominations. This is what I think about the Oscars. Listen up. So, category for best directing was all men nominees, which is fine because I don't ever think I definitely believe in like let's be aware of diversity, let's be aware of gender, but I don't ever think that those should be awarded based on what they are. I think everything should be awarded based on the work, regardless of who 100%. Did it, just to have someone represent it. But I think the Oscars are for movies all over the world, and most often it's American movies. But last year we had what was that foreign film that was on Netflix? Roma. And so it technically is all over the world movies, but most of them are a lot of big blockbuster hits in the United States. But I think, of all the people in the world directing movies, not one of them can be a woman. Like, what the heck?
Step it up, bitches.
So I nerd out about the... Yeah, come on, ladies. Where are you? And maybe that just means there aren't enough. Maybe that means we need to be encouraging women to do more things that they want to do. Like, maybe they're just not out there doing it because they think they can't or whatever. So I nerd out about the patriarchy, I think, is my thing. What else? I nerd out about astrology, but that's only recently. I find it so fascinating. I've never read something or have someone tell me something, whether it's about my sign or just like the planets in general, and felt, wow, that makes so much sense to me. I feel like I'm on the right path. I've just never.
What is your sign,
felt
by
that.
the way?
I'm an Aries.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always think astrology is really cool. I took Latin in middle school and I loved like the Greek mythology and stuff. Like astrology is really cool, but I've always kind of like I know I'm a Virgo, and like every description I read of a Virgo, I'm like, yeah, this is 100% me.
Wow.
But like I also feel like when I look at horoscopes, I'm like, I might as well have opened a fortune cookie.
Right.
Completely agree.
Yeah, it's always different based on what, or like your sources. It's crazy. I don't necessarily like daily horoscopes. I don't look at those, but I love astrology books and like your birth chart. I just learned about that last year, where it goes off of where you were born and what time, so it knows like where the planets were in that location at that time, and it's just so interesting to read about it. And I was telling my dad how much I enjoy astrology, and he said, yeah, I don't believe in that, but he's a Virgo like you. And he said,
and me.
He said every description I've ever read, I am a Virgo to a T.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't necessarily have an interest in it or believe in that kind of stuff, but it describes me perfectly.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your favorite personal routine? You were talking about skincare, but what else like keeps you grounded every day?
It's probably what I would have gone with had I not mentioned it earlier. So let me think. What keeps me grounded every day?
Well, if that's your routine, then own it and talk about it.
Yeah. I would like to say going to the YMCA keeps me grounded, which
the
it did.
In Nashville are awesome.
YMCA.
Yes.
The YMCA.
The Ys in Nashville are dope.
They are amazing. Let me tell you. Also, thank you based on slided income scale, because I wouldn't be able to afford it if it wasn't. But they offer so many different kinds of things, so you're never going to get bored. I think it definitely kept me grounded pre-Halloween. And then once I got sick, I was like, I'm too tired to go. And I'm excited to get energy to go again, because I really, really liked it. And I think I tell a lot of people, like, when they're feeling down, I'm like, I know you don't want to, but go work out. Even just go on a walk. Like, you don't have to go on a run. Just go on a walk. Sometimes I walk outside after being sick for a day or something like that. I walk outside and I think, oh my gosh, why haven't I been outside? Even though I'm sick, I could have been sitting in the backyard. You just think, oh, I gotta lay in bed. But fresh air is so wonderful.
Fresh air, they good.
It's so true.
Just like get a really cheap cot, roll it outside, and you'll still be in bed. Just you know, with the birds.
Well, you know what else I get got on is studies. I read a study about how if you wake up within the first 10 minutes, if you get natural daylight, it helps you wake up better. And I think that's so true, because I walked outside today, like within 10 minutes of waking up, and I don't know, I felt so much better. It wasn't painful to wake up.
Right.
And I think I would like that to be a nice routine for me, is going outside when I get up. But that means I have to get up on time.
Yeah, right. See, for me, because of that, I have found personally that I cannot do blackout curtains. I know some people love sleeping in complete darkness.
Yes.
But I have like super sheer like curtains on my windows, and I wake up to the sun. So when I get up, it's the morning and I'm up. Yeah. You know, and it really helps me.
I definitely like to wake up with the sun for sure.
And I think it's different for every person, because I like complete blackness and I sleep with a heavy face mask.
Yeah.
And then my brain just races at night. So I feel like my eyes are always fluttering, and that face mask just helps me, Kyra, stop thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I do the face mask too, but it always by the morning it's always off my head.
Right. Like on the ground, just
yeah. So I still wake up with the sun.
I'm forced to.
I like wake up and it's like on the floor, or like my dog, like somehow it's like on her head, and I'm like, how did this happen?
Bella just wanted to steal the face mask from you.
Basically.
How do you keep yourself balanced?
Yes. I became a pescatarian, I think around Halloween, when I got sick, just because I wasn't eating a lot. And so I knew, okay, if you're not going to eat a lot, whatever you eat better contribute to your health and nutrition in some way. So I just started eating salmon, because I knew, okay, if you throw salmon and broccoli in the oven, at least you know you're getting good food when you eat it. So I am a pescatarian now, but I love cooking. I think people, whenever I bring snacks, people are like, oh, you brought rabbit food again. And to me, I love it, so I don't care.
Yeah, no,
but I'm over here
will mess up some celery and carrots. Are you kidding? Some lettuce.
That is what I do. I bring celery and carrots. I'm like eating sunflower seeds. Nice. And that
was built on cooking.
It really was.
We would first time hanging out in Nashville. We hadn't seen each other in like 2 or 3 years, and we just like hung out and cooked every time that we hung out. We're like making breakfast or lunch or dinner, making burrito bowls.
We just chat.
I feel super left out right now.
Well, I didn't know you yet. First of all, didn't know you existed. No. Second of all, you're 9 hours away, so fix that and we'll talk.
Yeah, we can all cook together.
Ooh, this turned back on me. I didn't expect that.
But I like it. There's definitely days where I don't want to cook. I love oatmeal for breakfast, or like post workouts with fruit. But when I cook that oatmeal, you best believe I'm cooking 2 cups of it, because I don't want to cook a 3/4 of a cup every single day. Like, I'll cook a bunch and put it in the fridge, and that way I know, hey, at least it's there. That's pretty much the only thing I'll prep, just because I've never been good at. I don't want to say I've never been good at it, just in the sense that I haven't really tried it. I think mentally it just overwhelms me, like meal prepping. I think, oh my gosh, how am I going to find vegetarian menus that utilize yellow peppers for 3 days in a row? You know, it overwhelms me, and it shouldn't, but yeah, meal prepping is great if you can do it, because then when you're exhausted, instead of opening up a bag of chips, you're like, you know what, I'll just eat that oatmeal. And I love cooking, and I love eating healthy. I feel great when I'm on it. I love doing detoxes, like every once in a while saying, okay, no gluten, or no soy, no corn, no sugar, like no alcohol. It just is kind of nice to let something go every once in a while and come back to it, and then you don't indulge as much, I think, because your body got used to it. I love dancing to the Wii. I love my like Just Dance game. Nice. Yep, love that. My roommates always come home with the worst time. Did I do it a lot? I did, yeah. People always come back to the house and they're like, oh, hello, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm dancing and working out. You want to join? No one ever said yes. But just back to that full moon manifestation, that I love that. That keeps me, I think, grounded and just like mentally healthy, in the sense of, hey, like set some goals every month, try to work on them, like saying them out loud under the moonlight, like burning them in candles. It just helps me intentionally do something versus thinking, oh man, Kyra, you need to go to the gym, or you need to sit down and write more. It's like, this week I am gonna write something, and then I burn it. It's like a positive intention versus shaming yourself for forgetting something, or for being too lazy or too tired or too whatever to do it.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, I have so many. I hate when people don't use their blinkers. It drives me crazy here in Nashville, especially on the interstate. I used to like driving and now I don't, and that makes me sad.
No, it's so annoying because I'll be like, people will like almost cut you off, and I'll be like, well, I would have known that you wanted to come over if you'd have put your fucking blinker on.
And I could have flashed you and let you know to go.
I would have said, absolutely, come on over. Yeah, no, I hate that.
Oh man.
I'm like whenever I am in the car, like, and I'm from Florida, so like we get people from all over the country that don't know how to drive, and they all are like, hey, you don't know how to drive? I don't know how to drive. Let's move to Florida. Like, that's literally like,
Nashville's kind of like that too.
That's like how I feel.
Nashville is like
like a melting pot of shitty drivers.
Oh man, it's rough. Yeah.
I'm like anal about it. Like, it doesn't, I could be like, I could be in a neighborhood, no one is around me, there's no car behind me, in front of me, wherever, and I'm like doot 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 doot.
I like your blinker sound.
I know, I like it too.
You know, it's like, I'm working on my improv.
I like it, girl.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Do it. Just go take a class. Just get out there.
So what do you splurge on and what are you cheap with?
Ooh. I splurge on cheese. For sure.
Good one.
But cheese is expensive, so I'm not necessarily cheap with cheese because Kraft singles are way below my ability now. I can't intake it. I used to eat white bread with mayo and cheese.
Ew.
I know. I was so picky when I was little, and now I'm like, give me the sprouts, the avocado, a little bit of carrots. I put everything on my sandwich.
Yeah.
But it breaks my heart when I walk down the cheese aisle and I'm like, Brie, $8.59. Bye, Brie. Like, I'm like, I want toilet paper this month. You know, like, it's so sad.
Aldi.
Oh man,
That
I love
$2.99
Aldi.
Brie though.
Yes. Gosh, what am I cheap with? I guess I'll do generic brands for so many things. Like, I don't care. They all, you know, whether it's
Great value.
yeah,
Y'all don't have Publix.
like,
Well, you have some
the
Publix
same
this year,
as
but
long as it works. Like, I don't care. I think I stopped being cheap with shoes because I don't use any leather, so it kind of makes it a little difficult for me, I think, sometimes to find like good boots or boots that are gonna last or things like that. But I used to shop at Goodwill all the time just because I loved vintage stuff and I loved funky stuff, and I was like, I want to be different. But my mom always told me, Kyra, you cannot wear Goodwill shoes, honey. Like, you gotta have some support. And I fell down the stairs freshman year of college, literally 4 stairs. This was like 2 years before Ellen got to school. I had a trauma-induced bunion. I know, it's despicable. I went. No, you please laugh.
Worst word in the English language.
Please laugh. Trauma-induced bunion. I was 19. I was like, my grandma has bunions. What does this mean? And they're like, it's trauma-induced. And I'm like, it was 4 stairs. What happened? God.
You just made Dara laugh so hard that she just died. She's dead now.
She's back.
Are your bunions doing better now?
Well, I had to have surgery for it. I was on crutches. My soccer coach, I fell on a Sunday. My soccer coach saw me on Monday, and he stopped me because I saw him on campus at school. He's like, Kyra, what did you do? Coach, I fell down the stairs in my dorm. Which dorm do you live in, Kyra? Oh, I live in Olds. And again, very small school.
Yes.
Kyra, I've been in that dorm. It has literally 4 stairs. Well, Coach, I fell down all 4. And I was like, I have a trauma-induced bunion now. And he was like, wow, okay, great. Well, were you intoxicated? And I said, no, I was completely sober. And he's like, well, next time lie and say that you were because this is embarrassing. And he just walked away. Gosh. Okay. Anyways, moving on. I don't buy cheap shoes anymore because of my stupid right foot that is now bigger than my left foot.
Induced bunion. Do you have to buy 2 different sizes of shoes?
I mean, I would if I could, but they don't let you. Believe you me, I've tried.
I'm just picturing you buying 2 pairs of every pair of shoes that you buy.
No, but I just try and buy better shoes and then wear inserts and my little toe spacer that tries to straighten out my bunion toe.
Nerd alert.
Yep.
Okay, so switching gears from your bunions.
Moving on.
What is the unknown secret of your industry of film, acting, improv, comedy, all of it, and like wrapped up? What is the unknown secret?
So networking is a huge thing. And word travels fast, I think, in our industry. Because you look, even like me working at Zany's Comedy Club, we have people in there like Chris Rock, Chelsea Handler. A lot of people do podcasts now in there. So actors or whoever that has a podcast comes in there. You guys can come in there someday.
Yeah, yes, Chris Rock can be on our podcast. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Or Crystalia.
Let's do
If you're listening to this,
yes.
Crystalia, I love you.
Crystalia came to Zany's. But word spreads if you're not a polite person.
Right.
And people aren't going to want to work with you. They aren't going to want to have you back in their club. They aren't going to want to work on a movie set with you if you're disrespectful or don't want makeup on your face for a bruise that you have to have that makes sense to the story. You know, It's just the weirdest stuff, whether it's being a diva or being self-conscious or whatever. But if you're in this industry, hopefully, like you want to make art. If you're in this industry, you should want to make art. And you should be an easy person to work with. And I think a pet peeve of mine is just common sense, where I think, hey, if you're not doing anything right now and standing around set, what can you be doing to help? What can you be doing so that we aren't behind? Don't just stand there eating the snacks. Like,
Make yourself useful.
Come help me.
Make yourself useful,
so
for sure.
I'd say, like, if it's a secret in the industry, I think it's just that impressions are important in the sense of treat people well. And that goes a long way because people will recommend you or they won't. And you just gotta be enjoyable to be around.
Yeah, for sure. We want to know, what is your favorite band / your favorite type of music?
Okay, I love the band Tegan and Sarah. I've loved them for so
They are
long.
great.
I forgot about them.
Yeah, they're kind of one of those, like, they're like always like there, but then somebody like brings them up and you're like, oh my god.
Yes, yeah, I love them. Their lyrics are so much fun. I love that they write their own stuff. They do a lot outside their music, like with LGBTQ charities and raising awareness and stuff like that. But I love their music. I love music where you can hear the lyrics over the instrumental parts, just because I love lyrics and I want to be able to understand them because that's part of the story to me.
You're a words person.
Yeah, I am. And my gosh, my favorite type of music, there's so much music out there that I don't even know exists. Like, someone showed me like Chinese rap the other day. I know, it was I was like, this is so much fun. It reminded me of techno, like just really fun and upbeat. I don't love a lot of American rappers because usually the content or
pussy, money, weed.
Yeah. So
can I say that on a podcast? I can say whatever the fuck I want on a podcast.
It's mine.
All good.
Great.
I'll bleep it out, but I'm still gonna leave it there.
We'll skip these 20 seconds. But I love so much music. I grew up on a lot of music just because my parents always had music playing in the house. Sure. And I love like Patsy Cline, Crystal Gale, David Allan Coe, like a lot of old country stuff. And I jam out to that all the time, and it also just brings back fun memories. So I mean, I love country, but I love folk and I love old school country. And I miss rock and roll, all the bands. And I just think it's so interesting that today there's not a lot of old school rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Definitely. We're so glad that you came to join us today.
I'm so glad.
Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Kyra, where can everybody find you?
Oh gosh. Everywhere.
Yeah.
I took a break from social media, and it was the nicest thing I've ever done for myself. And I wrote this in my journal. I hate that the industry kind of forces you to have a presence, just because if it didn't, I would not be on it as much. Yep. But I'm on Instagram at Kyra Madisen. I'm trying to be present on Twitter because I love comedy and jokes. It's kind of like my online journal, and I only have 50 followers, so I'm not really worried about anything. And I'm just like, oh, today, I don't know. I'll just say the weirdest stuff. But I'm on everything is Kyra Madisen because that's my stage name. Like Madison's my middle name. My sketch comedy is Not a Cult.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here with us.
Thank you.
And everybody, we will see you next week.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Beyond Broke and Hungry. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms, Beyond Broke and Hungry, pretty much across all platforms. Stay tuned for episode 4 next week with Suzanne Polinsky, the Rockstar Advocate. Till next time.